I'm Steve Scott. Let's talk hop.
Hi, welcome back. Hey again, if you'd like to learn more about anything we talk about in these videos or anything related to human and organizational performance, feel free to contact me. My email and other contact info is in the description, and I'll show it again at the end of the clip. I'd love to hear from you. Today we're going to talk about human performance principle number 5. Leaders' response to failure matters. As a leader, the first thing, the initial reaction you give when you hear about a bad event, a failure, an error, an incident, sets the tone for the whole organization as to how well they're going to share the next event. Let me give you an example. I recently spent some time with an organization that had a policy that said, when there's a serious safety incident, a fatality, a serious injury, or a really high potential injury-free event, we want the plant manager from the location where it occurred to debrief the executive lead team about this event. Now, along with and this is going to be during a conference call, along with the executive lead team on this call will be most of the operations and safety leaders from the corporation, all the other plant managers, the operations VPs, all the safety managers, the corporate safety team, a lot of people listening in on these calls. And the intent is to share the learnings and so that we can improve, right? So one of these calls, a plant manager is talking about an event where an employee entered the guarded area around a piece of automated equipment without locking it out. The equipment actuated, the employee got pinned. Luckily, the employee was not seriously injured. There were only minor injuries, but certainly this had really high potential. So the plant manager talks about the event, and then the plant manager goes on to talk about all the systemic improvements that they made to make it easier to do the right thing and hard to do the wrong thing. They relocated some disconnects to make the Loctag Verify process much, much simpler and easier. They upgraded the guarding around this automated equipment to make it much more difficult to enter it without it being fully isolated. So they made real systemic changes to prevent this from happening again. And along the way, this plant manager had been telling his employees, this is, we are really focused on learning and improving. We're not out to blame and punish. We want to get better. We want to know where this is happening so that we can fix things. So after the plant manager talks about these corrective actions, one of the senior executives says, here's what I haven't heard. I want to know what you're going to do to the person that violated Loctag Verify. Now, when that's your response as a senior leader, when you hear about a failure, is what are you going to do to the victim or the last person that touched it? Who did it and how are you going to punish them? When that's your initial response to failure, what do you think that does to openness and trust throughout the organization? Especially to that plant manager who had been telling his people, we're looking at learning and improving. We're not out to blame and punish. We want to learn and improve. So now he's getting challenged by a senior executive. How come you didn't punish that person? As a senior leader, don't you want your initial response to failure to do a couple things? Number one, show concern for the employees. Number two, show a priority on learning. So what if instead of saying, oh my gosh, not again, what's wrong with you people, who did it, what are you going to do to them? What if instead of responding that way, you were to respond, is everybody okay? Are the operations stable? What help do you need? What can we learn from this? Or James Reason says the first question you should ask after an event is, what defense failed and why did it fail? Wouldn't that send a better message to the organization that, hey, we are dedicated to learning and improving. We want to hear about these events so that we can learn and improve before we send somebody to the hospital. If we just focus on who did it and what are we doing to that person, aren't we really discouraging people from reporting that next event? And, really if people can avoid reporting it, that's probably what they're going to do, isn't it? And then we don't hear about the hazard. It goes unreported, it goes uncorrected until something too big to hide occurs. That's not where we want to be. As a leader, your response to failure matters. Principle number 5. I hope this helps. If you'd like to learn more, again, feel free to contact me. Here's my information. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks.